Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us today. I'm Brittany Painter, the VSE Customer Success Manager here at 21CS, and it's such a pleasure to welcome you to our session on VSEⁿ 6.4, the latest evolution in this trusted lineage of mainframe excellence. Before we jump into the technical heart of today's session, I want to take a moment to introduce who we are and why this milestone matters. At 21CS, we're not just maintaining technology, we're investing in its future. Our mission is to keep the mainframe vibrant, resilient, and ready for what's next. That means modernizing without compromising reliability and bringing new energy and new talent into the ecosystem with 24/7 support. IBM recognized this same vision, and that's why in 2021, they chose us, 21CS, as their trusted partner to carry VSE forward. With our proven track record in innovation, modernization, and customer success, we're proud to continue the legacy of VSE, now VSEⁿ, ensuring customers have a clear, confident path for the future. As we celebrate the launch of version 6.4, we are not just talking about software, we're talking about a community. We're growing teams, mentoring new mainframers, and creating opportunities for fresh perspectives to thrive right alongside seasoned expertise. So today's session is not only about what's new in VSEⁿ, it's about what's next. Thank you for being a part of that journey. Now let's dive into VSEⁿ 6.4 with Gonzalo Serrano, our VP of VSEⁿ that leads our R&D team in our Center of Excellence in Germany.
And if somebody missed the intro and would like a private session later on, we can always schedule a separate session. But again, I was saying that till we delivered the 6.4, first we delivered 6.3, and we were listening already to customer requirements and vendor requirements. And we've been very busy the past years helping customers to upgrade. That was the most important thing. The customers were very happy with the support that we were providing. Everything worked fine. And then we have also implemented a couple of things. So here are the list of things that we have implemented. SNDMU, which is Ditto logical tape-to-tape copy comparison. That was a requirement from a customer. REST client for batch workflows, also another requirement from a customer that we thought it could be easily done, and we did it right away. VSEⁿ crypto services, alternative closing mode, again, working with a vendor that had different customers where there was some incompatibility with the way that other applications would use the OpenSSL stack outside of VSE. Then we wanted to sync these different closing modes. Crypto services, enhanced tracing to better debugging for when we or other vendors are working with customers, and SDA tracing utility. We have also provided some enhancements for vendors, customers, and also for ourselves. So all of them, I will give you just a small screenshots in the following slides. I also would like to mention here a couple of quotes as we have talked with some customers that upgraded, how happy and how easy it was to update. So next. So this is a screenshot of the enhancement that we did in SNDMU. Again, IBM used to call it Ditto. We need to change the name, so it's called SNDMU. I think it's important here to say that we added here the number of differences that you are allowed to put, and then here if you put 100, here you see the use case. A customer wanted to do a data center migration, and then at the beginning the volumes when the name were different, but the rest was the same. So for him, it was important to see that the rest was important, but this was a valid change. Then the next one, it's the example about the REST client batch workloads. Again, we had HTTP batch workloads, but the rest was only available for CICS workloads, not for batch workloads. So again, now we have done a REST client, this REST-B that you can execute in your jobs. And this is an example of what is the output that in a very simple example, what is happening here. If you have, again, any questions about this, you can surely drop us a mail or also ask you the questions. Then here about the different ways to close OpenSSL. Again, this is the full mode, is the one that is documented in the standard, but some applications outside of VSE do not follow the standards. So we thought that we could also implement the other ones to avoid longer timeouts. And then there's the full mode, the partial mode, and the quiet mode. Then here about the enhanced tracing, that was a requirement from one of the vendors. They wanted to see here microseconds, not just seconds, because within a second, lots of things happen, as you can see here. And then it was also important to know the file descriptor, and that's also something that we added here to OpenSSL to be able to better trace when there are lots of requests on the same OpenSSL stack. SD8 enhancements. So this is a utility to do tracing of different things in the system. And as we got it from IBM in 2021, there were no mnemonics or no new mnemonics visible since the C10. So we added all the machines mnemonics till the C16. And now when we provided support for the C17, you will see later on, we added those as well for the new assembler instructions for the C17. Then also some of these new instructions had 7-character mnemonics, so we changed that to allow that to use these 7-character mnemonics as well. And also with the hexadecimal code XED, there were some misprints. We fixed that. And also in the storage alteration trace situations, there were some issues that were not working fine, and we have fixed them as well. Also very important, the C17. The C17, as you all know, that's a machine that was announced in, I believe, April this year and released close to June. And why it's important, again, this is the VSE is betting on supporting always the latest hardware. And again, we supported the C17 already with 6.3, so it's not only supported 6.4, also with 6.3. So here is an example where we have 6.3 running on a 9175. That's the model of the C17. 775. Here we work together with IBM to make sure that all the tests work before GA. And this is the list of APARs and PTFs that you need for IOCP. If you want to do an IOCP supporting the C17, you need this APAR and PTF. If you're going to be using SCRT for subcapacity reporting on C17, you need at least this APAR. By now has been superseded for newer ones, but this is the minimum one. And then HLSM supporting the new C17 instructions. If you want to use it in your HLS in your assembler programs, for that you need this APAR and PTF. And as mentioned in the SD8, we updated also the mnemonics for the new instructions. There is a feature within the C17 that you might have heard. It's called the DPU, or the that is being used also with the Network Express adapter. So the DPU is here within the chip, the Talon 2 chip, and the Network Express adapter is the successor of the OSA Express adapter. We are still working to support that as alternative. And again, we plan to provide the support within this year. As alternative, the exploitation is available. We recommend when ordering a C17 that you also order or carry forward an OSA Express 7S. That was the latest OSA Express card. And alternatively, if you're using VSEⁿ under CDN with a vSwitch, then you could use that vSwitch in layer 2 mode support, and with a TCP IP stack support in layer 2 mode support as well. Okay. All right, then, and now we come to 6.4. 6.4 was announced in September 16th. We put it in our website, the announcement, and then we did a couple of link posts. Here are the link posts in LinkedIn. And then from there, and here's the link also, all these links, you will get the slides later on, all the people that have registered. And then you can see these links if you have not yet seen it. But I think you've seen it because that was where it was the appeal to register for this webinar. So what do we have done in 6.4? And this is a summary of all the features. First of all, we have the IBM C14 architecture level set support. And this is aligned our strategy. Every time that we provide a new release, we plan to provide a new release every 2 to 3 years. So from the previous release to this one, it took 2 years or 3 years. I mean, from 6.3 it was 3 years, from 6.1 2 years. And pretty much was the reason for that. Still the customers were upgrading, and still there are some customers upgrading from 5.2, 6.1, and goodbye. I don't know, there are some timer. And then we didn't want to release a new release if the people have not yet updated to the first release first. So that was a little bit the reason to wait. But again, important here, nowadays, the oldest C machine that is supported from IBM is the C14, and since we released in this year, then we align with this support, and we are supporting C14 and newer. So C14, C15, C16, and C17 is the latest right now. And as new machines comes in the following years, of course, we will support them. This release, also like 6.3, will be supported at least 5 years. So 6.3 we release in 2022, so at least will be supported to 2027. This one we're releasing now 2025, so it will be supported at least till 2030. And then on the FSU, we have done, it's supported to upgrade directly from 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. If you are still in IBM CVSE 5.2, then the option that we recommend, if you want to do FSU, is first to do FSU to 6.3, where in that case is support to FSU from 5.2, and then from 6.3, then later to do a FSU to 6.4. So basically FSU in 2 stages or in 2 phases, to not confuse with the real stages of the FSU. SCRT, I have some screenshot later on, but basically we are supporting multi-release the same way that IBM did, so that when you have more than one release, that you don't need to have different licenses and that you get different billings, but basically all your workload in your cake is aggregated for all the versions that are running on VSE, and then you pay, again, for all the 21CS versions, if you're running IBM CVSE and 21CS in the migration, we will never charge for the MSUs from IBM CVSE, only for the ones from 21CS VSE. System license key support, that's a new feature that provides us more flexibility in terms of providing valuations and not having to send auditors to customers when the license is finished. And that's a practice I believe every vendor in the industry uses. And that's something that we have thought very through to make it easier to use and not to have a disruption when you are changing the keys. IBM Store safeguarded copy. I will mention later on what is this about with the console messages. And then also we have updated the releases of TCP/IP for VSEN and IPv6 for VSE, working with the vendors that will work CSI and BSI, as you know. Also the crypto services, we rebased from 111T, which is the OpenSSL version that was LTS, but it was not anymore supported from the community, and we have rebased to the 3.0.11, that is another, the 3.0 release, an LTS release, and that one is supported, so it's important for us to be able to leverage the support of the community also for CVEs. OLTP, we have provided all the fixes that we did with 6.3 around hardening, and we are looking into more options to more granular monitoring, and also be able to, whenever a Kix transaction is looping and if there is yielding and there is no yield timeout, to find ways to be able to shut down that transaction. And again, that was also a requirement from a vendor. VSE connector support for latest LTS Java runtime environments. Similar like with OpenSSL, here with the connectors, we're a little bit dependent on the latest versions from Java. So we need to keep up to date, also making sure that the Java runtime environments. And again, we started, or IBM started with version 1.5, and then most of the customers are right now in Java 8. Some customers are already in Java 11. Some are even looking to 17 or 21. So that's the reason why we tested everything to make sure that everything is working fine and did any updates where needed. Connectors cloud native support. Also, I have a screenshot. Again, this is about leveraging a prepackaged container that you can deploy in your Kubernetes environment. We have tested so far also with Docker and Podman. But of course, these connectors should be compatible as well with Rancher and SUSE or with OpenShift with Red Hat. And then statements of directions. Here are the IBM C Secure Boot support. That's a technology that is about avoiding that whatever you are IPL in your system has not been tampered, and is really what we have sent you. So there is some security involved there, and that's something that IBM supported in the C16, or actually in the C15 for SCSI, in the C16 for DASTI disk. And that's already supported for COS, so we thought that it would be also interesting to have support for VSE. Also, STB, that was so based on IBM DB2 technology. We had some clients working with STB client on VSEN, talking to a IBM DB2 Linux server. And in that case, the rules of the passwords are more related with the operating system, in this case Linux, and they had a requirement to need more than 8 characters passwords, because that's not around the current standards. So we're working on that to provide up to 60 characters support. I think that was good enough for the customer. I think most of the customers will be happy with this upgrade using the client as well with other servers. Also, NQ SSL TLS ciphers update. This is also, as you know, we revived the NQ technology for VSE. IBM put the product NQ server end of support in 2015, but there are still customers depending on it and using it. And we thought that it was important also to license this source code and support it. So we are already supporting it, but of course, the SSL and TLS ciphers, we need to upgrade it compared to what it was at that time from 2015. And that's what we're doing now to support all the TLS 1.3 with OpenSSL ciphers. Now we get a little bit into details of each of some of these features. So here on the architectural level set, with 6.4 here, you see running on a C16, that's a 3932 that we have in Perth, and also on the C17 that we're using on IBM Dallas Poughkeepsie environment. Then here, what is the next one? Here's a screenshot of how the SCRT multi-release support will look like in the future for those customers who are using SCRT. So basically, if you're using VSEN 6.3, 6.4, this is not a preview of 7.1, but here we're just mentioning that when we have also a new version, not only a new release, we will be supporting that as well. So, and again, the idea, IBM was only supporting multi-version, so within the version, the release was always not counted. We are doing it even more granular, that we have multi-release support and also multi-version. And here, if you do the math, it's not adding, but don't be afraid. This is because this peak, so here in the version 7 was 33, and 17 and 1, it was not in the same time slot. Again, this will be added for each time slot. So if you have a peak on a time slot for a particular release and another peak on another one, those peaks will not be netto added, but it will be whatever usage was in each time slot. Okay, that's the reason why this is 33, it's not adding 33 plus 17 plus 1. And again, that's nothing new. That's something that you are used with CVSE and different versions. We're doing similar as well to avoid that you need to pay for different licenses while you are upgrading to another release or version. So now we come to the big topic here of 6.4, the system license key support. The way that we are generating this license is based on the VSEN release, the machine serial number, so the release and the start date and end date of the license key that we're providing, and the processor, including the machine type, model, and capacity. So here with the output of SIR, and that's also one of the reasons why we are not providing the 6.4 per default to all of the customers, but actually we want to get an order just first for legal reasons to make sure that we reflect the VSEN 6.4 in the contract and we update it, and then also to have the conversation about the serial number and everything in case that something has changed since the first contract. So in this SIR output, this is a VSE running under CVM. That's why it says CPU ID, VM, and VSEN. And you can see here the release is mentioned here. This is 6.4. Then the machine serial number. This is the input that we would use. Oops, sorry, previous. Oh,
sorry.
I'm
gonna stop.
All right, okay. So we're using this serial number. Sometimes if VSE is not installed, so for new installations where you're using the output from the HMC, then we have a way also to work with that output as well. So no worries if VSE is not yet installed. And then a start and date end. Again, usually we will align this with the renewal of your contract. And usually most of the customers, although the license of VSEⁿ is a monthly auto renewal, most of the customers do a purchase order for 1 year. So again, we will also provide licenses that are valid for 1 year, unless a customer knows, oh, I'm planning to leave VSE for whichever reasons earlier, and then we would update the license to that particular date. And then here the processor, we will use the input here from, this is the machine type, and this is the capacity level. And then this is important, especially if you're planning to use capacity on demand on particular peaks, depending on your industry, you have a particular part of the year where you have a bigger peak and you want to go, for example, in this case, from Q06 to C06, then in that case, it would be good to have a second key that is only providing for the capacity on demand. Because again, the key is checking always the capacity at every half an hour, is checking the capacity. So what else here? So what will change from your experience working with VSE? I think pretty much when VSE, where the key is already provided and everything is working, the experience should not change for you much. But of course, at the beginning, during the installation and the FSU, if there is no key stored in the system, and that will be the case when you're coming from 6.3, then you will be asked to enter the license key, and then you will provide the license key that we have provided you, also via box, and then it will either be valid or not valid, and then you will have a number of tries. And if it's not valid, then the system will suspend in that case. And most of the cases, okay, you will be typing a valid key, and then the system will store this key, and then when you re-IPL, then you are not being asked again. So then here, regarding the expiration and notifications, like every software that has software keys, it's important to notify the customers in advance. So we decided that if the expiration is going to be in less than 30 days, we will provide, but no more than 7 days, we will provide a weekly notification. And that looks like that in the console message. So if you can monitor this message, you will see it. Otherwise, if you don't see this message because you are distracted, when the time is 7 days, you will get a daily message. And when the day is coming, you will get an hourly message, or no, actually every 30 minutes, you will get this message saying at what time is going to be ending this. By the way, this license key and the timing is everything in UTC time zone. That's important to mention in case that you are in another location and you are used to work with local time. Be aware that this is UTC time zone. But again, if you get the new key before than 30 days, you don't need to worry about UTC or local time, okay? Then what will happen in case that you oversee all these messages, or you don't type the right key, or you don't have any key, or you stop paying for the license, then your system will go into suspend mode. Suspend is better than hard wait. Nevertheless, suspend is really suspending the whole system, and that could affect programs, databases, communications. So we really do not recommend you to get to the suspended state and actually update the keys whenever the first warnings are happening. And again, we're happy to provide you a key with overlap with the other key, so that then you don't need to wait for the last minute. There are different ways how you can update the keys or provide new keys. One, we have a utility that is called IJB SKU. It's a batch utility, and also an AR command that is the sys key. These are documented in the documentation that we are provided. I see here a question. Thomas, I will get to you in a moment. Or unless somebody from my team that is in the call, you can check the Q&A and answer that as well. Yeah, and we forgot to mention, besides we speaking here, some of the team members are also joining as panelists to answer any questions that may come in Q&A as well. And again, we have also the capability for capacity on demand to have 2 keys in memory, so that it's not waiting for re-IPL or something. And then you can have with this sys key, passive key, you can put a second key with more capacity and probably less time frame. If you tell us, hey, we plan to do a capacity on demand for the next weeks, then we can provide you a key for that specific time. All right. Again, for the key topic, there is very good documentation, but if something is not clear, please do feel free to send us questions. As usual, when you have a license for 6.4 via support@21cs.com, and then we'll be happy to create cases for that. This is a topic that I mentioned with the IBM storage safeguarded copy on VSEN, and this is something that we observed already with VSEN 6.3, as IBM was selling this feature to some of the VSE customers. What happened is that when the safeguarded copy is happening, and I don't know if you're familiar with this safeguarded copy, is basically a very nice feature from a storage to do an air gap copy to avoid a contamination during ransomware attacks. And basically it's taking copies on a regular basis and are having that on a place where it's not being contaminated. And then in this case, when it's happening the air gap copy, the PPRC copy is being suspended in that time. And this is working as designed. The way it is when there's a PPRC suspend, the system thinks that is an issue or there is something important, and that's why it's a hold message per design. Now, for the case of safeguarded copy, it's working as designed because this pair suspended is normal to happen. And I believe in the case of COS, what happens is to avoid this amount of messages, they say all the volumes in a range and they put only one message. In the case of VSE, you're getting a message for each of the volumes. So if you have more volumes that lines in your console will be full with hold messages, and this could affect the console, the performance. And that's why, again, in VSE 6.3, we provide some kind of circumvention with a rec script to unhold the messages. Now we're doing a more professional way so that you can have an exec that for this particular message, that's the one involved in the safeguarded copy, that you can say start or change the behavior of this message so that it will be in no hold. And when you know that the PPRC's suspend is finished or the safeguard copy is finished, you can back to the normal behavior so that if it's something happened that is not related to safeguarded copy, you do get these hold messages. Okay. Now going to the VSEN connector support for the latest LTS. Again, this is just a screenshot showing that we're running, in this case, the VSE health checker, we run with 1.8, OpenJDK with 17, and also with 21. And then the cloud native, I don't know how much familiar with you are with containers, but basically a container is a prepackaged environment that has all the software and dependencies, and you don't need to be worried about which level of Java do I need to run with this connector or something. Everything is provided in the container. So even the Java runtime environment is provided here. And these containers are still talking via TCP/IP to the connector server. And the ones that we have targeted at the beginning and that are important are the ones that have a server behavior. There are other containers that are more client behavior, like the navigator that is connecting. But for example, here in the database CLI server and the vSAN redirector, the VSEN script server, and the virtual tape server, all of those, now you can also use them as a container. Again, we have tested with Podman and with Docker and Windows, Podman on Linux, but if you also, and we provide the different versions of it, of the containers, but of course it should be also compatible for OpenShift and Rancher. All right, this is everything what we wanted to talk about 6.4 on the beyond 6.4, and that's also something that I'd like to mention. There is an important investment everywhere about AI. And again, here I mentioned that VSE itself does not have any AI libraries, but thanks to the connectors that we provide, it is very easy to connect VSE with a collocated Linux and C instance under CVM or under LPAR, and then access processes or data. And then Linux that has all the data science or all the AI libraries they are enabled that are most used in the open source, and even optimized for the instructions and the AIU, the inference unit, and also for the Spire card as well that it was just announced. Besides that, we have done different hackathons with our company. Last year, the hackathon that we did was about providing a VSEN interactive assistant bot. And again, the motivation was some of the employees, as they started here, it was hard to get information about VSE, and having this kind of chatbot similar to ChatGPT, but more specialized on working with VSE and with VSE prompts, it would be much better. And that is a little bit what it came out, and that's what we're working now. We're trying to provide something that is very lightweight because it's very specialized for VSE, so it's not a general purpose like ChatGPT, but being just for VSE, that's something that we don't need such huge models like ChatGPT needs. And also the capability to connect with VSE via VSE connectors, so that whatever answers are provided is not just based on documentation, but also connecting to your environment if you want to. Again, we don't want that everything happens automatically, but it should always ask you, do you want me to provide a tailored answer and connect to the system? And then when it connects, it will tell you what kind of changes from the template that comes from the documentation based on your environment you should use, and that's a more personalized answer. And of course, if you are okay with it, then it will ask you, do you want me to submit this job? Or if you are talking about how to deploy something, then if you confirm, then it will be submitted for you. Like with AI, it is always very important to have this interaction with the user and not doing everything automatically, because the user should have control what is happening. And of course, this would always run on your premises and not something that you're sending queries or anything to the cloud, because I think it's important for the customers to have control of the queries and everything what is happening here. We're still developing it. We hope that we can provide something till the end of next year, but interested, and we would like to hear your use cases of what kind of questions you would like or help you would like to get for VSE if you have this VSE interactive assistant bot. And with that, we come to the last slide. We are very interested to stay in touch. If you are not yet a VSEN customer, so 21CS VSEN, and you are still using IBM CVSE, or if you are just new here in the ecosystem or in the community and you would like more information, feel free to send us an email to vse@21cs.com, and we will get in contact with you for the next steps, how to get a license. And the most important part, if you're already a customer, we want to start having a much more closer relation with you. And that's also why we hired Brittany as a customer success manager. There are also other customer success managers who will be helping as well. But the idea is, again, she's going to start scheduling one-on-ones with each of the customers, because we believe for some conversations it's easier if it's for one customer without other customers listening or other vendors. And again, we will schedule one-on-ones with customers and with vendors. And then we would like to hear what are your business needs and requirements. And if we do, we need a follow-up to have more technical conversation on a particular topic, where we're happy to involve the rest of the technical team as well. So stay tuned for the invites that we will send in the coming weeks. And then we're looking forward to hear from you. Any questions?
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And yes, like Gonzalo said, we look forward to keeping in touch with everybody and building our community. So get used to seeing me and hearing from me, because I plan on bugging everybody and getting to know everybody on an individual level and as a community. So again, I'm Brittany, and I'm very happy to be part of this community. So if you do need more technical or more advanced than what I can provide, I have an entire team supporting me here in Germany and back in Morehead City. So I have access to a wealth of information, and can give you anything that you need or find it. So thank you so much again for joining us. And
I'm so gonna get the first slide if you need to copy the email if you don't have it from Brittany or from myself.